This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Look at the ominous sky that we have around us at the moment. Welcome to Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Safari Live. My name is Byron, and this morning on camera with me I've got VM. Morning, VM. Well, as you saw, we've got a very ominous sky around us at the moment. There's been thunder, lightning, so it's just myself out at the moment. Tayla is setting up the tent back at camp, just in case it starts raining. If it looks like it's going to clear, then she'll come out and join us in the bush. We haven't been able to find anything just yet. We've just got going. Because of the weather, we're a little bit hesitant this morning, so we're going to see what we can find. So what we're going to do is start driving. We had a very exciting sighting yesterday with some lions that killed a buffalo, so we're going to head into that area and maybe we get some feeding activity and see what's gone on there during the evening. Don't forget, we are live. You are on safari with us in the Greater Sabi or Greater Kruger National Park. Oh dear. There we go. Different vehicle for me this morning. I think VM knows it a little bit better than what I do. And as I was saying, we are situated in the Nkuhuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, which is part of the Greater Kruger National Park, right up in the northeastern part of South Africa. And as we said earlier, you are live, you're on live safari with us. What we see is what you see back home. Don't forget to send us your questions via Twitter, either on #SafariLive or email us at questions@wildearth.tv, and we will gladly answer your questions and get some of your comments. It's a lovely morning despite the weather around us, but it looks like it's going to miss us. I'm not too sure. I am really not good at predicting weather, so I don't even attempt it. Let's see what we can find while we're driving along. As I mentioned, Tayla's just setting up the tent this morning. She'll probably do a bit better. Just, I think if it clears up, then she'll get on the other vehicle and head out too. So we'll have two vehicles on drive again this morning. Is a good brakes a little squeaky. There we go. All bunched quite closely. A few males. Looks like a bachelor herd. Yeah, a little bachelor herd. Often the male impala tend to stay together, and when the rutting starts, then they will try and fight each other for dominance and territory, and then hopefully find a small herd of females that they're able to mate with. Occasionally you will get males and females together. There is actually a female in the background. You can just see her walking over there. But usually, through most parts of the year, you get the males in small bachelor herds and the females with all the youngsters together, and then there might be one or two dominant males around that herd. So this morning we are going to be driving around towards Buffelshoek Dam. There was a lot of lion activity there yesterday, and the lions did kill a buffalo, another buffalo. They killed one the day before, or 2 days before rather, a younger buffalo. So they really seem to be doing well at the moment, hunting buffalo. Again, there hasn't been a lot of food around, so some of these animals are struggling a bit with the drought. But this rain, it's building, things are happening, the bush is starting to turn green, so hopefully there's going to be a lot more food around and available for these animals, and they'll start becoming healthier and getting into better condition. But at the moment, I think it's quite easy for the lions to be hunting these buffalo. The buffalo are moving towards the water a lot because they need all the water. There's not a lot of food around, so they're not as strong and healthy as they usually would be. So it's a bit easier for them to hunt. But so that's our plan for this morning. And as I'm saying that, I can see some lightning behind us, but it does look quite far, so I think we're okay. You never know what we're away. Perhaps a leopard walking the road, some elephant. I would love to find a leopard this morning, a nice big male leopard, that would be great. Oh, these brakes are making a little bit of a noise, but look at this. Beautiful male giraffe. Wonderful. Our beard has just sent through a question, and he wanted to know if it had rained at all during the night. No, it didn't. Not during the evening, but when we woke up, the clouds were above us, and the lightning and thunder was going, but no rain just yet. So hopefully, after game drive, it will start raining. Wow, this is really an old male. Look at that. Beautiful dark coloration. And actually a few theories as why these male giraffe are so dark, or certain giraffe are darker than others. And genetically, some giraffes' skin color is just darker. Also depends on the area and the habitat that they are found in. And the other thing is that generally the older they get, then they tend to become a lot darker, especially the males. You can see this is a big male. And you can see that dark sky. Oh, wow, do you see that lightning? There we go. That's actually a beautiful, beautiful scene. This giraffe with the lightning in the background. I always find it fascinating how these giraffe are able to feed on these thorn trees, or these acacia trees. This one looks like it's looks almost like a sickle bush. I can't tell. No, it is an acacia.
Question, Marie. Do giraffe ever lie down, Marie?
Maria's asked us a question. She would like to know if giraffe ever lie down. Marie, they do. The giraffe will lie down, but they lie on their bellies, and they always keep their necks upright, because if they lie down completely, they do struggle to get up again. And also what can happen is all the blood rushes to the brain, and apparently the theory is that it will cause them to pass out. And that's usually when lions try and hunt giraffe, they try to get them down onto the side and keep that neck down, or their head down. Then usually it's easier to kill a giraffe if they are hunting them. But when the giraffe lie down, they lie down on their bellies, and they keep their necks upright so that it's easy to stand up, and that they don't have all the blood rushing up to the head and to the brain. as I was saying, it's fascinating how these giraffes are able to feed on these really spiky and thorny trees with those long tongues of theirs. They stick the tongue out and wrap it around its branches and strip the leaves. You can just see that tongue working a little bit there in the lips. But their tongues and lips are incredibly tough. And they're almost immune to these thorns. It really is incredible. And you can see those lumps and bumps around the head of the giraffe, and that comes from age, and what it is calcification around the skull. The older they get, those lumps or those bumps around the skull become a lot more prominent. You can see those two horns, or what are also known as ossicles, very bare actually, so that is also a good sign of age. There's not much hair around them, and the males are always completely bald. So Melinda has just asked, what are those horns or those ossicles used for? So Melinda, the males especially will use them for fighting. The females also have those horns, but they don't necessarily use it for fighting as much as the males do. The males will use it predominantly for when they have territorial disputes and trying to fight for dominance. What they do is they swing their necks around. They'll often stand facing in opposite directions, right next to each other, and they swing their neck around and they hit the other male with those horns or with that head, and they can cause some serious damage. And the winner will then be able to mate with the females in the area, and he will drive off the loser, and he will have to move into a different territory. Oh, fascinating animals. So Anne has asked us a question: how long do male giraffes generally live for? And it's always difficult to tell an exact or to have an exact idea of how long these animals live for. With giraffe, though, generally it's up to the age of about 20 to 22 years. So I would say that, but again, it all depends on predators in the area. Do the giraffe get injured? So there are a lot of factors that need to be taken into account when gauging the age of these animals, or how long they live for. But on average, it's about 20 to 22 years. See that very long tongue every now and then. That tongue can be almost about 45 centimeters long. So our beard has asked us a question about the lightning around, and if giraffe ever get hit by lightning, and do they get hit by lightning more than other animals? So our beard, that is a good question, and I have heard of giraffe being struck by lightning in areas in other parts of South Africa where the giraffe are a little bit more exposed. Around here there are a lot of big trees, and I haven't heard of giraffe being struck by lightning in and around this part of Kruger that we are in, or this part of South Africa, but up on the Highveld, so the area not far from Johannesburg, or up on the escarpment where we are, where the altitude is a lot higher and it is a little bit more open. The giraffe are a little bit more exposed in certain game reserves around there, and I have heard of them being struck by lightning around there. So it can happen, and because they are so tall, they will definitely get hit before any other animals. Let us continue. Lovely to see that that giraffe has just moved off. Let's see if we get a little bit of a sunrise. Not much of a sunrise at the moment. Have a look, it's just hiding behind the sun. Behind the clouds. Very cloudy this morning. I think as it starts to warm up later, the sun usually burns off a lot of this cloud cover, so it may clear up. Oh, there's a little kudu just ran past quickly, just into the thicket. Some impala around. So Lael would like to know, how do the animals avoid the lightning strikes? And Lael, in this area, and generally animals have a good instinct on what to do to avoid certain weather conditions, floods and lightning and all the rest. They definitely pick up on the change in weather conditions and climate a lot quicker than what we do. They can feel it in the air. I think what a lot of the animals do is they just go and look for shelter. They'll move down into drainage lines, lower lying areas, so they're out of the way. Some buffalo dung on the road there, and they'll move out of the way or look for shelter so they're not exposed to the elements. So something like lightning, if they move down, lower down, or around some big trees, then they'll usually be safe, and they'll avoid any potential danger. The whole time while we're driving, Viam and I are constantly scanning, looking for any sign of animals, and especially little intersections like this. When we get here, it's nice to have a good look for any tracks, animals that might have cut across the road. They often use the roads, and the reason for that is just because it's a prominent pathway, so it makes it a lot easier for them to get around. Can really see that dark sky is still looming behind us, but it does look like it's moved off a little bit further north. Still a few lightning strikes every now and then, you can just see in the distance, but definitely a lot further than they were earlier. There was some francolin doing the morning calls, crested francolin. Speaking about the crested francolin, there's a lot of bird names changed. Many years ago, quite a few bird names have changed, and some of the francolins have become spurfowl. So it's actually the crested spurfowl, if I'm not mistaken. It did change its name, but I prefer francolin still, and there are still some francolins where the names are being used, so it's a bit tricky, and a lot of people that have been to the bush in the past will know those little ground birds as francolin. We'll try to find some for you so that we can have a look at them. Beautiful little ground birds, very fast. They run around along the ground, foraging for food, little seeds in that they'll feed on. So it looks like some of the animals seem to be hiding a little bit this morning, probably because of the weather. Animals, as we mentioned, they do look for shelter. But while we continue our search, Tayla is back out on a vehicle, and she'd love to say good morning to you.
Good morning and welcome. It has been an interesting start to the day today. A little bit of panic with all the thunder and lightning that's booming about, but it seems as though it was just a threat. Now, my name is Tayla, and on camera this morning with me I've got David. There's David, and I am very excited to be back out in the vehicle, and I am in Rusty today, who I haven't driven for ages, so it's good to be back in you too, Rusty. Now, wasn't it amazing how yesterday afternoon we were so lucky to just catch the last glimpse as those Nkuhumas were about to start tucking into that buffalo, and I know that Byron is on his way there, and I can't wait to hear how much of that carcass they've eaten. But what we're going to do this morning is we're going to look for a spotted cat. I don't think we're going to have too much luck with cheetahs, but you never know, always keeping my eye open. However, I'm going to be looking for a leopard, and I'm hoping to find Karula in particular. So I know that Rex said he's dying to see Karula the queen, so we're going to try and give him a hand and see if we can pick up on possibly any tracks. So we're going to just quickly check Philemon's dip just to see if there's anything down here. She does like this drainage quite a bit, and I think she uses it quite often when she's in the area. But thank goodness we're going to have a helping hand from Rexon, and I think James he's tracking with. They're going to be a good help with us this afternoon. And it was obviously quite spectacular this morning with all the lightning that was going around, but I do hope that it does subside, which it does look like it's doing. The clouds have now lifted very high into the sky, so I'm not too worried about the rain, and it's starting to cool down finally after a sweltering day yesterday. Everybody said it was quite difficult to sleep with the mosquitoes and of course the heat that we had last night. It seems as though we've got a herd of impala just off to the left, but you can see they always run away from me for some bizarre reason. I don't know what I did in my previous life. Perhaps I was a lion or a leopard of some sort, and that is why the impala always seem to move away from me. You can still hear that thunder rumbling into the distance, and the impala seem to be moving off into the thicker vegetation in search of greener pastures this morning. Like we've been saying, unfortunately the grass is almost up, and it just seems to be the leaves on all the trees that everything is feeding on. Even the buffalo. The buffalo have gone back from eating grass to eating leaves again, which is not really too good, I'm afraid. But for the impala, it does them no harm with being able to digest both grasses as well as all the lovely luscious leaves that are coming through. I always find it to be quite peaceful after we've had a bit of rumbling of thunder. Everything is just starting to wake up now. I can hear the dawn chorus starting. And of course the beautiful rumbling of the thunder in the distance. Now, I just hope that the rain holds off for the next 3 hours, and well, when the drive is finished, then the heavens can open and it can pour with rain. We'll be very, very happy with that, but of course it has to stop at 3:30. It's not allowed to continue past 3 o'clock actually, it needs to stop. But you can see it's lightening up, a bit of light coming through. But it's looking a bit miserable behind us. My goodness, you'll die if you see the change. Look at it coming in from just behind us. Look at the color change here. From the beautiful light blue skies, you can see that is obviously where the weather's coming in from. It's coming from the west. But for now, I think we are safe. But let's carry on. Let's see if we can pick up on the queen. Now, chatting about the Queen herself, I know Melinda was sending her praises about Karula, saying how much she loves her and she wishes that she'll have another set of cubs. I'm sure she will. She's not particularly old. Leopards can carry on having cubs to the ripe old age of about 15. I knew a female who was 16 years old before she sort of passed on, and she had a cub started the year before prior to that, so it's quite old. So I think we may see her with maybe 1 or 2 more sets of cubs if we get very lucky. She's an older girl, I should say she's a mature lady with lots of experience. Now, we're going to carry on with our drive and see if we can't pick up on anything. And I believe that Byron has found a rather large bovet for you.
We have indeed, Tayla, and welcome out into the bush. I hope you didn't have to set up the tent for too long. We found a herd of buffalo, and it's interesting, this herd was actually milling around here yesterday, so they haven't moved too far, almost exactly the same area. And I think because it's almost on a little bit of a fire break, it's a little bit open, there's some food around, and I think that's why these buffalo are hanging around here. I'm not sure if this is the herd. I think this might be the herd that the lions tried to hunt yesterday, or did hunt yesterday. We're not too far from Buffelshoek Dam. It's always nice to see a herd of buffalo like this. Just moving through. Yesterday, I mean, I'm not exactly sure the number of these buffalo, but there were a lot of them. There were probably close to 200, I think, spread out over the whole area. So there were a lot of buffalo. Morning, everybody. Good morning. So there was a lot of activity, a lot of buffalo around, and that's what I said. One of the reasons why I think the lions have been so successful is there are a lot of buffalo around at the moment, and especially herds like this, there's some younger buffalo, some weaker buffalo, so it makes it a bit easier for them to select one that they like. Just from some of the sounds that I can hear, they've spread out really far down, further west of us. So this herd is I mean, driving through it yesterday, we were with them for a while, and then you left us and we carried on driving. The buffalo was spread out for almost a kilometer. So there were a lot of buffalo dotted around this area. Always nice to see these large animals. Let us continue towards Buffelshoek Dam where the lions are. It'll still take us a few minutes to get there. Well, I say the lions are there, I'm hoping they're still there, but I do think that judging by the sounds of the size of the buffalo that they killed last night, they probably will still be there feeding. So hopefully we get some activity from them this morning. See the whole way around here, all these buffalo dotted about. So we've got a question from Dog Tranquility, and she would like to know why some of the bird names have changed. I mentioned it earlier, a lot of the bird names changed over the years. This happened many years ago. I'm trying to think now exactly. I can't remember exactly when it happened, when the names began to change, but it did happen quite a while ago. Apparently the reasoning is that they wanted to create an international standard of naming of birds. I struggled to understand that though, because a lot of the birds that we get here you don't really get anywhere else, and some of the birds that are similar that we get here that you get on other continents, they're named something else anyway. So I don't quite understand it, but apparently it was to create an international standard. I always joke around and say I think the bird book sales went down, so they changed the name so people had to buy more books. But that's just a joke. Lucy has asked us if we can try and find some cuckoos today, and Lucy would like to add them to a list. Lucy, I'll do my best, and I've been hearing a lot of cuckoos at the moment, so a lot of them have returned. You know, some of them are migrants, most of them are migrants, so they come back for the summer, and I've heard quite a few of them already. The red-chested cuckoo, I heard the Jacobin cuckoo the other day. I've also heard Klaas's cuckoo and the Diedrich cuckoo. Those are just 4 that I've heard in the last day. So they're definitely around, we just need to find them. The cuckoos are quite elusive birds, they're not always easy to find. But their calls can be heard for quite a distance, and they are beautiful birds. They're very, very interesting. They are also known as brood parasites, and I find this fascinating. So what the brood parasites do is the cuckoos go and lay their eggs in another bird's nest. What happens then is the other bird, for example, a starling. So certain cuckoos lay their eggs in starling nests, and the starlings then incubate those eggs and raise those chicks. The cuckoo adults have got nothing to do with raising the chicks, which is fascinating. Even though the birds look different, because those eggs were in the nest, the birds will still look after and raise those chicks until they're eventually old enough to leave the nest, and then they move on again. What I also find fascinating is that those young chicks, when they reach adulthood, they know to migrate, even though they've had no interaction with the adults at all. They know when it's winter time, it's time to migrate north, which is very interesting. Is it all right? Sorry, just checking our marks here quickly. Is it right, Viv? Not far from Buffelshoek Dam now, so keeping our eyes peeled for lions. They've moved around a little bit, but the kill was a little bit further north from the dam, so we're going to approach that area slowly. That's I know. We'll go around this way and then back there. Last time I was here, let's have a look here. Hold on a second. Last time I was here, this dam had quite a bit of water. Buffelshoek Dam had quite a bit of water, but it's very dry at the moment. Oh, there's still a lot of lightning around. Oh, these brakes are making a bit of a noise this morning. See, there's absolutely no water here at the moment. It's really, really quite devastating to see. Let's try to show you from this side. There's a little pool, but the rest of the dam is completely dry. Just have a look over here. You can see there's very, very little here. Heard something. Hang on a second, let's just have a look here. Heard what sounded like a little growl. Oh, there's a lion. Oh, there we go. There's a lion straight ahead. Oh, it looks like one of the males. Fantastic. Okay, now I just want to see how they're spread out, where these lions are exactly. Just don't want to get too close to this male and disturb him. So I'm going to try to squeeze through this little gap here quickly. Or we could just sit here. I see the rest of the pride up ahead a little bit, but let's just going to try. Yeah, there they are. Oh, and the cubs are there. The cubs are there. Fantastic. Let's move a little bit closer. Oh, this is fantastic. Oh, you can see they've definitely fed on a lot. This male's still got a lot of blood in his mane. If you look off to the left here, I'm going to continue moving around, just see if we can get a view of the rest of the pride. Try to position us so we can see they all seem to be lying out there in the open. And there's the buffalo carcass here. Some of them still feeding. Hold on a second. Oh, wow, look at this. Oh, and all the little cubs are here. That is incredible. This is so exciting. This is the first time I've seen these cubs. You hear those growls. That's exactly what I heard as we drove up. Could hear that growling. They get very aggressive around a kill. Might be some interaction with this male and female. Let's see. So Georgie Ann has just sent through a question whether or not I have had any close calls with lions. So Georgie Ann, touch wood, and I don't want to jinx anything yet, but in all my years of guiding and going to the bush, I haven't yet, and I've tracked lions on foot many times and found them and viewed them on foot a few times, but I haven't had a close encounter just yet. Also, I think you always just need to be very careful, very aware, understand their behavior, and not try to get too close and not disturb them. Then generally the animals don't mind you. Oh, do you see that? See how that female reacted to that male? He is definitely interested in that other female. Really wonderful just to hear all these sounds at the moment, all this growling. Wow, look at that. And as I mentioned, even though this is a pride and these lions are most likely all related, and they do kill and work together to provide food for the pride, they still get aggressive when they are feeding. And the reason for that is because it's still survival of the fittest. It's instinct. They still need to make sure they get as much food as they possibly can. So they do still get or become aggressive with each other. This is a large pride, and I know most of our viewers all know this Nkuhuma pride, and it's wonderful to see them all together, but it's incredible to see how quickly they can devour a buffalo. There's very little left of that carcass from the looks of it from this angle. So Jason has asked us a question about that male that we first saw when we drove in. Oh, look at them scratch each other. Oh. See those claws, incredibly sharp. So getting back to Jason's question, Jason would like to know, why is that one male lying so far away from the pride and the other male was a lot closer and following the female? So Jason, there could be a dominance difference between those two males. Perhaps this one that is closer is a bit more dominant, and that one that, let's see if we can see him, is lying through, there he is, just lying down there. And there he is there, sorry, yeah, cleaning himself. So I think what possibly is going on is just that the other male is a bit more dominant, Jason, so that's why he is following a female. And what usually happens is with these coalitions there is a hierarchy, and the more dominant males will be able to mate with females before the others do. And I think that's possibly what's happening. As you know, we saw yesterday, we saw the one male mating with the female, and perhaps that is what that male is trying to do, is trying to mate with that female. Even though there are cubs around, I'm not exactly sure on the dynamics at the moment which females gave birth to which cubs. There could be one or two females that didn't give birth to cubs, and those are now the ones that the males are trying to mate with. But because of the hierarchy, that one is probably a bit more dominant than the other, and he isn't being allowed too close, but he's also probably fed and is moving away. There's also a lot of flies around these carcasses, and that occasionally the males don't like that. So it could be a number of reasons, but I think probably because of dominance. Chris has asked a question about how many cubs are with the pride at the moment. Chris, I'm going to have to have a good look quickly. I'll just get my binoculars out and have a scan around. So I can see 7 at the moment, Chris. So 7 cubs. Is there one by the male? Is there one by the male on that side? 7, 8. So if you haven't seen the other one, so 8 cubs. And I think that's all the cubs here. There are only 8, I believe. There we go. So all the cubs are here. So Judy Lord has asked, would some of the lionesses or one of the lionesses become aggressive with the cubs at a kill? So Judy, watch. There we go. That kind of answers your question a little bit. Look how that female was reacting to that cub. It's a little aggressive. It's a little sign. She wants to show that that she's obviously feeding and she doesn't want the cub getting in her way. But it doesn't happen often that the lionesses actually hit or hurt the cubs. I've seen males do it, and males can get very aggressive around a kill. So females are always very nervous when they have big dominant males around and there are cubs, because the males, often they forget their own strength, and if they swat or swipe a cub, they can easily kill it. So with males, they've got to be very careful. The females generally will show signs of aggression, but they don't necessarily hurt the cubs, from what I've seen in the past. But you never know. I mean, again, I always say that the bush is very interesting. You can read as many books as you like, and oh, there's another little snap. And you can think you understand animal behavior, but you'll always see something that will shock and surprise you. There's no rules out here. Getting a few little raindrops, oh dear. This is really an incredible scene. These lions feeding, the thunder and lightning in the distance. There's a lot going on here. But while these cats are on the ground, Tayla's got a cat in the tree apparently.
I do indeed have a cat in the tree, and I bet you won't be able to guess who this is. It's not Karula, but it's her son. It's Hosanna. Now we're trying to work out where on earth Shongile is and where on earth Karula is. We're not 100% certain, but at least we've got him sitting safe and sound high above in a beautiful marula tree, which seems to be the favorite tree of the leopards of the Sabi Sand. Very iconic, and that's why we always look up into the air and double check them. So I must say well done to Rexon, who managed to find him over here. Isn't that fantastic? And it's beautiful. And we're getting a few little drops, but not anything too bad, and the clouds have lifted again, so I don't think it's going to be too much rain, perhaps just a little spitter-spatter. He seems to be enjoying himself, having a lovely morning snooze. That's what I'd be doing if I wasn't working and it was thunder and lightning. I'd be tucking into a movie and watching him and under the covers. Bye everyone! Underneath those covers with perhaps a big bowl of popcorn and maybe a cup of hot chocolate to go with it on this morning. Though it's not chilly, like I said. You can see Hosanna doesn't look cold at all. He's quite content, in fact. Just enjoying life, dangling his head down. Now he's sitting at a bit of an angle, which is quite funny, so I'm sure all the blood is probably rushing to his head. And I always wonder if the cats or any of the animals, obviously besides the giraffe, because we know that they have a mechanism to prevent getting head rushes, but I wonder if they get the same type of head rush as we as humans do. As I don't think I'd be able to sit in that position for very long. But we'll sit here for a little bit and hopefully, Karula's going to come around. Now, I got very excited when Rexon called in the sighting that Hosana was up in the tree, quite close to Philemon's cut line, because there was a dead buffalo. I think Jamie found the dead buffalo a few days ago. And I thought, oh my goodness, that perhaps that the rest of the family was scavenging on this buffalo, but I went and had a very quick look, and it has been eaten right down to its skeleton. The vultures were obviously there yesterday, and I think the hyenas perhaps cleaned up the last little bits of it. But then maybe that's why they were around, is perhaps they have been feeding on that carcass all this time. But he's lovely, very happy. There's lots and lots of people coming in and out of the sighting. We'll just make sure we do give him a little bit of space. So I know he's about 8 months old now, so I'm not too worried about him. He seems very content with us. He doesn't seem bothered at all. But if he was on the ground, we would have to give him quite a bit of space, because he is still quite young, and of course he doesn't have a mom to keep him company. Always a little bit edge on the side of caution when it comes to the youngsters, when mom's not around to protect them. But it's good to see that he's feeling a little bit more comfortable in the trees. And the last time I watched him, he wasn't as agile. He was up the tree with it, and I think it was a bushbuck carcass, and he was jumping around, almost falling off a few times. And he's growing. Every day he's getting bigger and bigger. Before we know it, he'll be bigger than his mother. You can hear the turtle doves, the red-crested coron. There's lots and lots of different birds. Like I said, only having a late start to the morning. I reckon he's just going to rest here until either his sister gets back or his mother gets back, wherever they may be, and just enjoy the morning up upon a tree. Remember, we are on a live safari, so this is happening right now, and I'd love to hear from you. You can either hashtag Safari Live and ask any questions on Twitter, or you can send us an email, questions@wildearth.tv, and I'd absolutely love to hear from you. He's actually quite high up this tree. He must be a good 8 meters or so above the ground. He's in a very good big marula tree. And they do, like I said, they make the best trees with their horizontal branches. And a bit of shelter with those new leaves coming through, which will, I'm sure, keep the rain off of him. Okay, and you're starting to hear some cuckoos in the background as well. I'm hearing the black cuckoo, in the distance, in the very far distance, and I know there were a few of you that were wanting to see some cuckoos this morning, so I'll definitely be keeping my eyes open for some of those. And I'd like to try and get that elusive red-chested cuckoo on camera, who I haven't heard calling yet this morning. Perhaps they are still sleeping, but that is going to be our mission today as well as find the rest of the royal family, of course. Now, at one point, the lions were living around here. If you have a look just down to the left, Jarvie, can you see that old buffalo carcass? Just want to quickly show you. It's a bit like a graveyard at the moment, with all the buffalo carcasses around here. There's about 4 in the space of about 50 meters. And this was from right when I first started here, so almost 2 months ago, where the lions killed 3 buffalo in about 48 hours. And they devoured them around here. something that I have seen before with my favorite leopardess in the sands, who is a female who's called Lisbon. But unfortunately, I think that she is no longer around anymore. I think she possibly got killed by perhaps another female leopard, or she was also rather old, and she left her son behind, who was just over a year old, to fend for himself, and he hadn't quite learnt any hunting techniques, but he used to make use of all this buffaloes that the lions would kill. Once they had finished, he used to just follow them around and sit and wait in the bushes, and then once they moved off, he'd come through and he'd scavenge on whatever he could pull off of that carcass just before the vultures and the hyenas moved in. But it was quite funny. At one point, we would sit every time we were down in the south and we were with some lions, we would make sure that we looked around us, and we'd often see him hiding under a bush quite close by, just sitting still, which was always quite funny. The first time that I discovered that this is what he was doing, I got such a fright, my tracker and I. He started giggling, and I said, "What's going on?" And he said to us that, no, look, have you seen the leopard yet? Have you seen the leopard? And we hadn't. And we were very, very confused. And you wouldn't believe it, that out in the bush, probably about 30 meters away from us, was a little young leopard sitting very, very still, waiting for the lions to move off. And I thought that was quite an interesting characteristic, and kudos to that young male leopard, as he made a plan, because his mother wasn't there to feed him anymore. Well, that thunder's starting to brew again in the distance, and we're getting a little bit of rain. I think we're going to have to put rain covers on shortly. The drops are getting a little bit bigger, but I think it's just a small cloud that's coming overhead. I'm hoping that it doesn't get too much heavier than this. Oh my goodness, we've even got a giraffe coming straight down the road towards us. This is going to be exciting. Hopefully this male giraffe, it's a bit far away. I don't know if we'll be able to see it, hey Darby? Oh, maybe. There we go. A bit of an obscured view, but you can see a male giraffe coming down the road. And I must say thank you to the little girl in the other vehicle who brought it to my attention that there was a giraffe coming down the road. So thank you to that. It helps when you don't have eyes at the back of your head and you are sitting in a sighting with lots of other people. They seem to be around. Let's have a look. He's starting to groom himself now. Oh no, he was, of course, as he said that he just did one lick. Isn't this beautiful? Oh, the rain is now coming down quite heavily. Right, we need to desperately put some rain covers on before we get caught in this thunderstorm. Remember, we've got all this very expensive camera equipment that makes it possible for you to see this feed, but we won't be gone for too long. We just very quickly need to put the rain covers on. Right. While we do this, while Darby and I quickly cover Rusty up, let's go back to Byron and see what the Nkuhumas are up to.
Isn't that amazing that Tayla managed to find that leopard with a kill? That's very, very interesting. I'm curious to know who it is, and perhaps I can go have a look this afternoon. We're still sitting with these lions in Nkuhuma Pride. There's still a bit of feeding activity. But, oh, look at that, playing with the tail. These cubs are very cute at this age. They're very inquisitive and very playful. It's wonderful to watch them. The weather is changing again. I know Tayla's had to try and put on her rain covers. Myself and VM are contemplating whether we should duck and dive the storm. Hopefully it continues. It looks like it's moving east, and hopefully it just misses us. But we may have to get covers out soon-ish too. But no drops just yet, so it's too soon to panic. But you can see the wind and look at those clouds building. Might get some lightning out there soon. As I was saying just before we crossed over to Tayla, what an incredible scene this, just with these big clouds in the background, the lightning, the vultures in the trees around here, and the lions feeding on a kill. It's a perfect setting. It really is a perfect setting. So Tara Ray has asked us a question. I think this is linked to the other question we had earlier about whether or not the lionesses attack cubs or get aggressive with the cubs. And Tara Ray would like to know, if the lioness attacks a cub, will the mother of that particular cub get involved? So Tara, yeah, I think what I've seen in the past is that that the adult female, who is the mother of the cubs, is very protective, and she will most likely step in. However, what usually happens is, because these lionesses often look after a pride together, they will all look after the cubs. Some of the cubs may suckle from various females, not necessarily just their mother, and that is usually why females try and come into estrus around the same time, so that they're able to look after the cubs together, and they've got a better chance of raising a pride of cubs if they all work together and are able to suckle the cubs at the same time. So in saying that, if one female gets aggressive with one cub, it's probably seen as a lesson that the cub needs to learn, and there might not necessarily be any interaction or any interference, rather, from the mother of the actual cubs or one of the other lionesses. I mean, you can hear there again. There's still a lot of growling. Listen to that. Hear that, and some of those growls are the cubs, the deeper growls, obviously the females, but the cubs make an incredible sound from an early age. They really can get very aggressive around a kill. Safari Shay has just commented and said they don't even sound like cubs anymore. Yeah, exactly. So Safari Shay, you're 100% right. Even from a young age like this, they get very aggressive, and they sound, the voice box and the sounds that they're able to make are incredible. We are starting to get a few more drops here, and this is starting to worry me a little bit. I think so Tayla is still putting on her rain covers and that, but I think what we're going to do is we'd also like to give some of the other guides in the area a chance to view these lions. What we're going to do is we're going to move out quickly. We've had a wonderful view of them. We're going to head south and probably try to avoid some of this rain. So let's see if we can move out quickly, but what a wonderful sight. Probably going to pass that one male again on our way out. Can always come back later again. Oh dear. The joys of trying to get Land Rovers in and out of tight situations. Eventually you get the hang of it. Here comes more rain. It's all happening now. Jim has asked a question if I've ever had a vehicle break down in the bush before, and I wonder if this isn't perhaps a good friend of mine and a guest, Jim Friedhofer. I'm not sure if it is you, Jim, because we had on a trip recently, we had our vehicle not quite break down, but we did get a flat tire, and we had to change the tire very quickly, and we have had and the odd little situation where we've got stuck before. While I try to get out of here, we're going to have to put rain covers on. Tayla, I think, has got hers on already. Go see what she's up to and get an update.
Now, I was just, while we were putting the rain covers on, I was looking at some photos that I have. I'm not convinced that this is Hosanna. I think it looks too big. I'm obviously going on the word of other guides who have been seeing these leopards, but I had the doubt in my mind from the beginning that this is slightly too large for an 8-month-old leopard, as quick as that Hosanna grows. Now, if you look on his back, can you see he's got a bit of a cut just where his tail joins? You can see that there. Now, I don't know what that's from, but it seems to be a little bit raw. I don't know if it's because of this leopard, if he's been licking himself or what's been going on, but he looks alright. Now, I'm wondering if it's perhaps Sandile. It could be. Maybe there's some other young leopard in the area. I'm going to try and get a little bit closer to reposition so I can just count his spots, but I do want to just double confirm. If you can maybe let me know just exactly what Sandile's spot pattern is, because the photo I have of him, I can only see the one side of his face. So if you could just let me know what his spot pattern is very quickly, that would be much appreciated, and then I can confirm. And then you're probably also wondering, if it is Sandile, where's his collar? But before we even get into that, let's first double check and make sure that it is him. I'm going to move around quickly to get a closer look so we can just zoom into his face. I'm just going to let this lovely gentleman move. He sees we can take his spot, which will be fantastic. We'll get a up close and personal look then. Right. Let's have a little closer look here. Now, thank you, Crystal, for getting back to me. Crystal, you think that this could possibly even be the female cub of the Ingrid Dam female, and you said that there isn't much about her. Now, that would be quite interesting. I cannot even confirm if it is a female or not. It could be a young male as well. We will have to have a look. Maybe I'll even be able to try and go the other side, or perhaps this leopard could swish its bum towards us and we can have a look. Obviously, when a leopard is in the tree and it's not a full-blown adult male leopard, it can be quite difficult to tell the difference. See, a big male leopard is hard to miss, but we'll have to have a look. Let's see, we can see 3 spots on the right side of this leopard's face. You said 4, sorry, 2, is it 4? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In fact, 5 spots on the right hand side of the face. Now, I just want to confirm, I don't think that this is Sandile. Just from the photo I have, the spot pattern already just on the right side of the face looks very different. So, Crystal, you could in fact be correct. Perhaps this is the cub of the Ingrid female. Now, I know I'm just having another look, and thank you. So, Sandile on the right side of his face has got 3 spots, and thank you so much for all the updates coming in. And thanks to Michael in particular for updating me that his spot pattern is indeed 3-3. I'll add that to my notebook. Now, there we go. We've ruled out Sandile. Now, we need to try and figure out who this mysterious leopard is. Now, I very quickly, seeing as though I mentioned it, I wanted to tell you that they indeed found Sandile a couple of days ago. They then darted him and removed that collar, which was no longer working, which is fantastic. Remember, we said that we were going to do that after after a few months or so, once the battery and everything like that was heading to the end of its expiration date, we were going to remove the collar, which they've in fact done. So how exciting is that? He's not going to have anything bothering him around his neck anymore, though he was quite fine with it. It didn't seem to affect him. He carried on hunting. But don't worry, we are indeed in the process of putting together a little clip that you can all read, which will then be the official sort of statement of what exactly happened, which is quite exciting. So I'm sure you can expect that in the up and coming weeks. But now we have got this unknown leopard on our hand. Now, I'd love for you, perhaps you've got better access to the internet than I do, and I have to say thank goodness for things like Facebook, where all the leopards have got these Facebook pages. Like, we know that the most famous of the animals. We need to try and find out who this is, and I'm sure you can help me. Now, like I said, on the right hand side of this leopard's face there are 5 spots, which is, I don't think, always too common. We don't normally see too many spots on the side of a leopard's face. Normally it's 3 or 4 or 2, sometimes even just 1. So this would be quite nice. And of course this leopard has got the big scar, big wound on the back of its rump, just where its tail joins. So that's another key identifying feature over there. You can see that. I'm very uncertain as to what's happened. I can't see if it's an actual cut, or perhaps if it was a skin condition of some sort, and which sometimes happens where they will lick their wounds raw almost. But we'll have to see. We'll hang around for a little bit and see if anything else happens with this leopard. But fantastic though, another new one to add to the book, which I'm going to do right now. I'm going to add to my pages of leopards, of this new, perhaps this new leopard. And Crystal, I have a question for you, if you're still watching, about the Ingrid female. Perhaps you could assist me. Where does she come from? What areas does she normally traverse? And of course, how old, if it is the daughter of the Ingrid female, how old would she be? That would give me a little bit of a better idea. Now, from what I'm seeing, I don't think that this leopard is probably almost quite 2 years old just yet. Maybe somewhere around there. I'm just having a look for my leopard page. There's my leopard page. And we have to add this leopard in. Who on earth are we? But I can hear another vehicle coming. Perhaps it'll be one of the guides, another guide from somewhere else, and perhaps they'll be able to help us identify it. This is where we need to rely on each other, and that's why it's so important to have good working relationships with all the different people around here, is that they can indeed give you a helping hand. And I do apologize, it is going to take me some time to get to know all the different leopards in this area. There are so many of them, and you never know when you're going to see somebody new, like what we've just found over here. You can see the other vehicles as it comes rumbling in. It's caught this leopard's attention. And he's just shuffling around, trying to get a better view. Hello, hello. I wish we could just get to see the other side of this leopard's face so we can confirm how many spots are on the left-hand side. Now, unfortunately, we are on one of the big main roads, so we're going to hear a lot of vehicles coming through, passing us. You can see this leopard's just watching everybody that's coming in, making sure they don't do anything they're not supposed to. But for now, seems okay. Seems to be a little bit on the relaxed side. Just shuffling and wiggling around, getting a more comfortable spot. And I really do appreciate all the help that all of you back at home have been giving me over the past 2 months. So thank you so much for that and being so patient with me. But I'll get there. Thank you again, Crystal. You really helped me a lot this morning. So I was asking a little bit earlier about the Ingrid female, who we suspect this could be the daughter of, even if it is even a female. We're unsure of that just yet. And Crystal says that the Ingrid female came from and sort of traverses in the northern sections of Londolozi. So it's quite possible that the daughter could have been pushed up this far. However, it's not always too common. Typically, the mothers will open up a territory quite close to theirs when they are ready to sort of leave the roost. And then the mother will normally push out another female leopardess, like I said, to make room for her daughters. But having a big morning snooze. And this weather is so bizarre. We had all those clouds come over, the thunder pick up again, the lightning, the wind, the rain. And now it has got warm again and everything is starting to clear up once again. But while we try and figure out who on earth this leopard is, let's go back to Byron, who has finally popped his rain covers on.
Yes, we have put our covers back on, thanks Tayla. I don't know where you say it's warming up or where you are, because it still looks quite ominous around us, very dark clouds, and it is clearing up a little bit to the west, so hopefully it stays away. We've managed to come back into these to this lion sighting. Now all our covers are on, and there's still a bit of feeding activity, so we didn't want to just leave just yet. You can see that little cub just playing with the tail, and again there's just that inquisitive nature of the youngsters. I mean, there's not much food there for it, but playing and licking and carrying the tail around is a bit of a game for them, I would say. You can see that definition in those lionesses' shoulders while they're feeding. Incredible how muscular they are. You can actually get a little bit of a whiff of that carcass and smell is drifting towards us. So I just got a question from and I hope I'm saying this correctly, are you Kristen? And she would like to know do these predators know if the animals have diseases, the ones that they are hunting or killing, and if that puts them off feeding on them? And not necessarily. And one of the diseases that the animals carry around here, and especially the buffalo, is a bovine TB, so bovine tuberculosis. And a lot of the buffalo in this area do have it, but the lions still feed on them. Occasionally it can affect the lions, but not to the extent that it causes death. You might find when they get older, you do pick up signs that they are sick and they have contracted it. But for the most part, they will still feed on the meat. So I don't think they necessarily pick up on the fact that the animals have got diseases, and they will still feed on it. At the end of the day, for a lot of these animals, because they're so opportunistic, food is food. They can't pass it by, they can't leave it. The little one still with the tail. And I know sometimes it's not always easy to watch animals feeding on another animal, but again, this is nature, and you know, we are here to observe and to appreciate these animals and their behavior, and to see how animals behave in their natural environment. And this is completely natural. There's no interference here. There's absolutely nothing. These are wild animals, and they have to hunt, they have to feed a pride. And the other thing is, we need to remember, occasionally the buffaloes get one back, and I've seen buffaloes attack lions a number of times, where the herd moves together to chase off lion if the lions are hunting them, and occasionally buffalo do kill lions too. So there's always a balance in nature, and we need to remember that. Just interesting to watch them feeding. Now, one of those lionesses, and if you look at that one especially, she's tilted her head a little bit. She's chewing with the side of her mouth. There, you can see that clearly. See that? So the lions and all big cats have got something called a carnassial shear. So the teeth at the back of the mouth, and the molars and the premolars, actually end in a sharpened edge, and they overlap slightly. And that acts as a scissor motion, and you can imagine all the jaw muscles right at the back of the mouth. It then makes it easier for them to chew, tear, and feed on the meat with the side of the mouth, with those teeth at the back where all the power is. And they can really cut through the meat. They'll use their front teeth. You can see that lioness at the back. She's doing it at the moment. She's using her front teeth to get into some hard to reach places and maybe tear the carcass open a little bit better. Those are the sharper teeth that she'll use for that. But then when she is actually feeding and chewing, she'll probably use that carnassial shear, or those teeth at the back of the mouth. Very interesting to see them actually feeding like this. See, that lioness is after something specific there. It's got beautiful eyes. So Calvin has asked us, how big was this buffalo that these lions killed? Calvin, I'm not too sure. I didn't see when they brought it down yesterday, but I caught a glimpse of the horns earlier, and it did look like it was an adult female. So I will see if we can see more of the head, but I think it was an adult female, so that's quite large. That's a large kill. But then again, there are 8 cubs. There's 4 females, 2 males. There's a lot of lions here. So there are a lot of mouths to feed, and they can get through a buffalo, as you can see, very, very quickly.
Blowing 2 on the bones or our houseboat steer, blowing.
So Warren has asked a question about these little cubs, and if they chew on the bones or the horns when they are teething as young cubs. And Warren, they most certainly do. I think to sharpen the teeth a little bit, and when those teeth are coming through, they'll find, oh, look at that. that little cub has its claws stuck in the mud. Ooh. Wow, did you see that? But notice how the female didn't actually swipe back and hurt the cub. Very interesting. So what I think, yeah, the cubs will definitely chew on, and I've seen them chewing on pieces of wood and sticks when they are younger, and I think that's probably part of their teething process, you know, when those little sharp teeth are coming through, and definitely on the bones, and as we saw that other little cub feeding on the tail. So yeah, definitely. And Dustin would like to know if the lions also eat the bone marrow. So Dustin, in some of the bones, the smaller bones that they're able to crunch through, they'll feed on the entire bone. So yes, they do feed on some of the bone marrow. And if there are bones that have been exposed, that have maybe been broken, and there's a bit of bone marrow that they can get out, they will definitely feed on it. Around cartilage areas and that too, they'll feed on some of that. And the joints, so yes, they would. Looks like our weather's passed, which is great. It's definitely moved off. The sky's starting to clear up a little bit, but there's a wonderful smell in the air. This beautiful rain smell of the rain hitting the earth, and it's known as, it's an interesting word, known as petrichor. And petrichor is the smell that you get after the rain. When the rain hits dry sand, you get that wonderful smell, that aroma in the air of water on the earth. And we can smell that at the moment. And you can see there's clear sky. It's cleared up. It looks like the storm's moved, which is, to be honest, I'm a little upset about, because I was hoping that we'd get some rain. It would have been lovely to have a bit of rain around. Actually, it needs to rain from about 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock during the day, just between game drives. That would be perfect, or during the evenings. So you never know, we could still have some rain at some point. It's building, slowly but surely it's building. You know, in sightings like this too, it's often just really wonderful just to be able to watch and observe these animals, the different interaction. The cubs are doing something different. There's some lions feeding. There's a lioness scratching herself. There's one moving off. There we go. She's just moving around. The males have moved off a little bit. The one is still lying further back. Looks like these lions are starting to settle down a little bit more now. The bellies are quite full. There's one or two still feeding there, but I think pretty soon they're going to finish up and probably rest. Luckily, there is a bit of water in this dam close by. I think what we are going to do is we're going to leave these lions now and see what else we can find this morning. And while we do that, and while we move out of the sighting, why don't you get an update from Tayla and the mysterious leopard she's got in the tree?
So just a few seconds ago, this unknown leopardess had a good look at me, and I want you to have a look at this photo that I managed to get of her. Can you see that? So she's got 5 spots on the right side of her face. Now on the left it's quite difficult. I don't know if there's a gap between the 2 spots right at the back, which could mean, let me zoom in quickly and you can help me decide as well. I'm going to go there. And you see those spots there? Now, the one furthest towards her eyes, I don't know if those are merged, and you would count those as 1, and then we would only have 4 spots, or it could be 5. I think I'm going to say 4 spots that she's got there, which is quite interesting now. Now, I know somebody said that it could possibly be the Mashaba female. Maybe you can have a look and search her and see what her spot patterning is. But we're trying to solve the mystery of this unknown leopard. Now, it's quite interesting, but let's have another look at her again. Perhaps she'll have a good glimpse back towards us, and we can have another look for ourselves. But isn't this amazing how we all have to come together now to try and put the pieces of the puzzle together and figure out who exactly we've got up in this tree. Like I said, I don't think it's a particularly old leopard. I think this leopardess is relatively young. But I could be wrong too. She's sitting up in a tree, which makes it a little bit more difficult to have a look. You can see the wind has picked up now. Those marula leaves are blowing quite drastically in the distance. Fast asleep, contemplating life. She's got beautiful eyes as well. I've never seen her before. But what I will do as well a bit later, perhaps I'll have to post these photos onto the Sabi Sand leopard identification page, and hopefully someone, if we don't manage to identify her now, then maybe someone will be able to help us later. But it's quite exciting and it's amazing. You just never know when you're going to see what and who you're going to see, or who's going to come visiting from the north, perhaps from the Manuleti, or perhaps even from further south in the sand. Sorry, Rebecca, I just want to very quickly hear the names again. Raisa, and then the name of the male leopard that it could possibly be again. Vutomi. Okay, sorry, I'm sitting under the power line, so I'm getting a little bit of interference. Now, Raisa, you said that this could perhaps even be a male cub, Nkanyeni's cub, which will be quite interesting to see. Apparently he's got a 5-5 spot pattern, so maybe you can all get Googling or whatever you need to do to try and have a look and see perhaps if it is that leopard. Like I said, it's very difficult to tell from the tree, and if it is a young male, it's going to look very similar to a female leopard, especially positioned so high up in the tops of the tree. And this is where it becomes tricky. Like I said, even with the tracks, sometimes you could overlook a female leopard's track, and could even perhaps be a young male's leopard's track if you're not having a good enough look, or if you've been on holiday and you've forgotten all the different things. And that happens. Sometimes it takes a few days to get settled in again. But this is so exciting. This is what I love, is that, and thank you so much for all helping, but we will eventually get to the bottom of this. Now, if it was a young male leopard, it would make sense that that wound on his back would definitely be from perhaps a fight, maybe unfortunately getting caught by a dominant male leopard and throwing him around a bit, if it in fact is a he. But it's not to say that it's not a female. We're very, very uncertain this morning. You can never be too prepared out here. Now, speaking of fighting, I know that Cindy was wondering, do the male leopards fight more than the female leopards? I think it's even between the two sexes. However, I have seen more leopard fights between females than I have between males. Remember, when you've got a big area, there are more female leopards in that territory, and the males are fewer and sort of far between. You might have one male for it depends on how big and strong that male is and how much of an area he's able to handle. But a male can have up to 10 different females in his territory alone. So it's more common to have interactions between the females and seeing them fight. And I can tell you, they are feisty creatures. They really do bring out the claws, and they give a good meaning to a proper cat fight between two female leopards. I've seen males fighting as well. It's quite funny how they do that. I know the leopards that I saw was Shivonakele and Mashabeni. Mashabeni is the resident male, and he actually took over the territory of Shivonakele a few years back. This is down in the southern sands, and unfortunately they crossed paths again, and it was quite amazing. They were fighting at the base of a big knobthorn, and Shivonakele, who is getting slightly older, decided he needs to get out, otherwise he's going to lose his life to Mashabeni. And they've had quite a few arguments before, and up to the top of the tree Shivonakele went, where he sat there for 2 days. Mashabeni would not let him get down. Oh, there we go, she's having a look at us. Let's see, can we get any closer just to have a look at this leopard's face? Here we go, take some screenshots. This is going to be valuable information for us. I'm also going to try and get 1 or 2 more photos now that we've repositioned, so that I can also help in the identifying process. There we go, got 1, that's all you need. And this is going to be very, very exciting. I've got so much adrenaline pumping through my body. It's like a murder mystery sort of crime scene, but not quite that. It's a little bit more pleasant. We're just trying to figure out which leopard this is. Like I said, I still can't see who exactly this is, and there are a lot of new rangers coming into the sighting, so perhaps at some point I will have a chat with them and get their opinion. And hopefully between all of you watching and between me having a chat to the other guides, and hopefully we'll be able to find it out. Right, I'm going to have a little chat with everyone, but I think that Byron has bumped into some more lions.
So we've just moved out or away from the rest of the pride, but we bumped into this single lioness and the other male, the 2 of them that we think are potentially mating, and I think this is exactly the pair that we saw yesterday. It does look, it's definitely the same male, and I think it is the same female. It's a male with a very bad scar on the face. You can see it's amazing how these males get into these fights, and you see those scratches and scars all over the face. You know, even with the brothers, even though they are brothers and they patrol the same territory, you know, we saw with those lionesses feeding, if they get into carcasses and they are feeding, or if their females around, they get very aggressive with each other, and they always try to establish who's more dominant, so they do fight a lot, and you see those serious scars on the faces. So Dayton has asked an interesting question about the males and how aggressive they are, and whether or not the males would turn on each other properly or seriously, not just for food. So Dayton, what I have seen in the past, and I've been fortunate enough to see many different coalitions move into and throughout areas and chase off other males and from other coalitions. Males that are in the same coalition very seldom turn on each other, and the reason for that is because together, a large coalition, so anywhere between 2 or 4 or 5 or sometimes 6 males, they're just more successful together. They are able to keep out other threats, other male lions, so it makes sense for them to stay together. So from what I've seen, generally the males in the same coalition, they don't get aggressive with each other, they tolerate each other, and they stay together because they know it is beneficial for their survival and for their territories. Whereas if these males bump into males from other coalitions, as I said, then you can get some serious fights, and these lions often end up killing each other or chasing them out of the territory that they are in and taking over that territory. Strength in numbers, that's basically what it comes down to. It's still nice and cool this morning, and I think that's why these lions are still lying out in the open. There's no very harsh, or there's no harsh sun beating down on them, so it's nice and cool. They can lay out in the open. So we've been very fortunate with our lion sighting this morning. Feeding activity, cubs playing, bit of growling and interaction at the kill, these two wandering off. I was chatting to VM earlier, and he was saying it's incredible how lucky we've been with all the lion sightings. Since this Nkuhuma Pride has had the cubs, they've been seen just about every day, and that is fantastic. We really are very, very fortunate. It shows that this Djuma area, and that is ideal for them. They're able to hunt. There's a lot of food, there's water available. So it's a perfect territory for them. There's no need for them to extend their territory or move further or move away from this area. You can hear beautiful orange-breasted bushshrike calling. That's my impression of the orange-breasted bushshrike. So I'll see if I can do my orange-breasted bushshrike call again. You can just hear it in the distance. It's beautiful, beautiful call. Now I heard one calling back, so maybe my call's good enough. And it looks like these lions are very comfortable and resting now. Not too much activity from them. We'll sit here a few more minutes. If there's nothing left, then, or if there's no activity, then we'll probably move on a bit. But I wonder if Tayla has managed to work out who that leopard is yet.
I have got wonderful news, and I'm sure you're all sitting, itching, bouncing around in your seats, Googling your hearts out, trying to figure out and help me decide who this leopard is. But I've got confirmation that this is indeed Tayla, the leopardess, who I don't know anything about really, and apparently about 10 days ago or so she was seen fighting with Salahashe. So that is the reason for the injury on her rump. Perhaps she was running away from Salahashe. So that's quite exciting. The Tayla female. I'd love to hear though how old she is. I'm not certain. I don't even know who her mother and who her father is. I did try and have a very quick look, and I have to say thank you to Elvis and to Ralph for for confirming and passing on that valuable information. It's funny how it can be quite confusing at times to try and identify and keep tabs on all these various leopards. But unfortunately, we also aren't going to be able to stay here for too much longer, as there are plenty other guides who would love to show their guests the very iconic leopard in a tree. Isn't that beautiful? It's one of my favorite things to see out there, is to watch a leopard in the tree, preferably eating something. Sorry, I've got a fly that is really persistent about trying to get into the various orifices on my face, but I am trying to cover it and so it doesn't go in there. It's a very aggressive fly, that one, but hopefully it's gone away. Hello, beautiful girl. So this is so exciting. Another leopardess who I haven't seen. We were chatting about all the leopards that I haven't seen yet. Well, now, Mike, you're wondering what territory is this female leopard in? It seems as though Karula has got quite a large territory. I think she's just edging on Karula's territory. Perhaps she, with her injury, she's had her tail tucked between her legs, and she is now racing away and trying to avoid the other leopards. We can also see Tundi along here. And of course Shadow. It wouldn't surprise me if the three of the leopards, Tundi, Karula and Shadow's territories all overlap slightly. So I think that Nchila is just sitting on the fringes. Like I said, I'm not sure where she actually even comes from. But isn't this special? That I'm so happy. It feels as though there's not a hole in my heart anymore, that we have finally managed to figure out who on earth this beautiful leopard is that's sitting up in the tree. I'm super ecstatic. We've got Shanae who's just joining us, so perhaps I'll be able to have a chat with her and she'll be able to tell us a little bit more. Look at her now, she's standing up. We'll sit with her now and just see what she gets up to. I'm going to snap 1 or 2 more photos for my leopard collection. No, she's just repositioning. Not going anywhere. I thought that perhaps she was going to make a descent down from this marula tree, but she's not quite ready just yet. That looks like a little bit more of a comfortable position. You see, not that this leopard is particularly unfamiliar with the trees. I've seen them dangling on the teeniest, tiniest branches and sitting in the smallest of forks. They're able to handle themselves quite well. Beautiful posing. I'm going to quickly ask Shanae how old she is. Shanae, how old is she? Okay, so she's almost just under. Okay, perfect. So I was very quickly having a chat to Shanae, who's on the opposite side, and she's confirmed that she's indeed quite a young leopard. She's probably around the same age as Sandile, so anywhere between sort of 1.5 years and possibly about 2 years old. Like I said, she doesn't look particularly big, so that's fantastic to confirm that. Sorry, Rebecca, I missed your question as I was chatting to Shanae. Fantastic. Karen, you have been an absolute superstar today. So this leopard is indeed about 2 years old, or just over 2 years old. And Karen says that she was born in 2000 and... Did you say 2014, Rebecca, or did you say 2015? 14. So she's indeed 2 years. Fantastic. That's very, very exciting. Now I will have to do lots and lots of research about this leopardess and make lots of notes on her, because perhaps we could be seeing her around a few times more. I believe she's been hanging around in Arethusa, and now she's slowly making her way, and hopefully her next move will be north, though she is going to have to be very careful, because I know that Karula is out and about lurking around somewhere on Djuma, and you wouldn't want to bump into her, especially if she's got her 2 young cubs. That would end not very well, I think, for Nchila, with Karula, of course, having experience and size on her side. Fantastic. But unfortunately, we're going to have to pull out now. There's lots of other vehicles that are absolutely itching to get into the sighting. So we're going to start making our way out. But I'm glad that you all enjoyed this. And wasn't it quite fun? I bet a little bit nerve-wracking at times, though. And with trying to figure out who on earth this is. But thank you so much for being so patient. But let's go back to Byron and see if his sleeping cats are still sleeping, or perhaps he's not with them anymore.
So we left that lion sighting. The lions weren't doing too much. They just lay around. There was absolutely no movement or sign of them moving, so thought we'd leave them. We can possibly go have a look later again. I'm glad Tayla managed to work out which leopard that was. Oh, hang on, let's see, let's see if we can get this lilac-breasted roller flying above us. He's calling, and let's see, it's a bit tricky. Oh, VM, you're amazing. I want to see if he does his display for us. He's circling us, it's not easy. And Carl, you requested a lilac-breasted roller. I'm trying to see if I can get the display. There we go. See, a little bit of a roll there. There we go. Watch that little roll. See how it stops flapping its wings, rolls, and it'll probably, and then it dive bombs, and it goes down. Oh, fantastic. That is wonderful, and that's obviously how it gets its name, roller, because of that wonderful aerial display that it does. So there we go, Carl. You don't get a better lilac-breasted roller sighting than that. I mean, that is perfect. Well done, VM. Awesome, that was great. That was nice. Often when they're flying and they're calling, they've got that very, very harsh call. If you listen and watch them carefully, they usually do that aerial display. So our plan now is just to try and see what else we can find. I'm looking for some elephant. We had a brief glimpse of an ellie moving through or across the road into a drainage line. Tried to see if we could see where they went, but they moved through some really thick stuff, so we couldn't get to them, and right in the middle of a drainage line. So we're going to carry on and see if we can find some elephant. A lot of tracks around here, crossing the road and that. Some impala. I hope all of you are enjoying this morning just as much as I am. And I mean, there's been a lot going on. Lion sighting is incredible. Leopard sighting, it's always fantastic to see a leopard in a tree. Also, while we're driving, I'm still trying to check the road for tracks. You never know, you could find leopard tracks along the road. Perhaps a big male, that would be wonderful. I'd love to find a big male somewhere. Hopefully over the next few days we do get to see one. Afshen Dinduna, Unjani. Jennifer has asked if I've lived in Africa my whole life. I have, Jennifer, yes. Born in South Africa and lived here my whole life, and been guiding and been, well, I've been fortunate. I think, you know, growing up, my family's always been always loved the bush and loved Africa, and we've gone to Kruger National Park and Botswana from a young age. I think I was about 4 or 5 years old the first time I went to the bush, so basically fell in love with it back then. And I've been in this industry permanently now for 11 years, which has been fantastic, and guiding permanently for about 7. So if not longer, 8 years, I think, yeah, 7 or 8 years. We've got some impala and kudu. Just try and get us a little gap. There we go. Looks like a young kudu there. A young male with the impala running past. Oh, look at those oxpeckers feeding on the ticks off that kudu. Yeah, it's a young male. Can you see those little horns? Still very, very young. And those little red-billed oxpeckers, those little birds that pick off the ticks that sit on the animals. You can see this young kudu got a bit wet with that rain. I think it must have had a little bit more rain than we did. Oh, nice. Lovely to see a young kudu. I saw a few more move off, just off to the right. So it is definitely part of a small group. There we go. There's 1 or 2 more. Also young males. There's a young male and a female there. You can see that young male at the back. Those horns a little bit bigger. So usually with herds like this or small groups of kudu, you don't really see them in massive herds, but you can have anywhere between 2 up to 15 or 16 kudu. In some areas I'm sure you'd get more of them together, but generally with herds or groups like this, it's females with the younger kudu, and you can see these young males with this adult female. That was off to the right. This is just behind that tree there. Oh, there's watching us through the leaves. Lovely to see a small group like this. And usually you find the big males, the ones with those beautiful spiral horns. They'll form groups, bachelor herds, and they'll stick together until they're ready to mate with the females. Looks like this elephant's pushed this tree over just off to the left. I see fresh elephant dung here, so it does look fairly recent. Let's keep scanning. Maybe we're lucky and we find these elephant. Some zebra tracks in the road too. We've actually seen a lot of zebra in this area over the last few days, which has been fantastic. I must admit, you know, I said it yesterday too. I haven't been here since about when was it, June, and it's always great to come back. But I've been so impressed with the wildlife and the amount of animals we've been seeing. So many different antelope species, zebra, giraffe, the elephant, the buffalo, the lions, leopard. Everything's been going on. So it's really a productive area for wildlife at the moment, which is fantastic. And And I think one of the main reasons for that is possibly because there's been a little bit more rainfall in this area over the last few days or last few weeks than other areas, and we've been speaking about it a lot, but you can see the bush is starting to change slightly, starting to get some green grass shoots coming out. So what that then attracts is all the herbivores. They're coming out for the food, and that then will attract the predators. So I think that's maybe one of the reasons why there's so much activity at the moment. So, sorry, VM just pointed something out. Did you see something good? That other one you want to check out. I wonder if it hasn't moved off. So we're in that area where we had that, there was that other female leopard, Shluva, yesterday. Let's just have a look around. I think she probably would have moved off by now, but let's see. Check carefully. I didn't see anything now as we drove past. And Bob and Laura would like to know if there's any threat or any danger of fires being started by lightning. Yes, definitely, especially in the dry conditions. When it is very dry, the chances of fires being started by lightning are very, very good. And I remember years ago in an area just south of here, we had some bad lightning storms just towards the end of winter, so around July, August, and we had to go out and fight some fires. There was a lot more grass, and when it is so dry, it's much easier for fires to start, and most of the bushfires are started by lightning. So I remember yesterday we were in this area, and that female leopard had moved a little bit down into this thicket, but I've seen a lot of impala walking through here now. There's a lot of impala, and it was just here where we saw her. So I think she has moved off. Yeah, it looks like it. There's a lot of impala. She'd moved a little bit from where she originally was, and she moved into that thicket, but there are loads of impala moving around here, and they all look very, very relaxed and calm. So I think Shluva has moved off and probably finished that kill that she had. That little deka, there wasn't much left of it when we saw it yesterday, so she either finished it or she lost it, perhaps to a hyena or maybe another little scavenger. So Jim would like to know if some of the scavengers or other predators ever use the alarm calls or the sounds of the alarm calls to move in on kills. Definitely, Jim, definitely. I can't tell you how many times I've seen where animals are hunting something, and especially animals like leopard, when they try and hunt, they try and grasp or get a neck grasp and grab that jugular to prevent the animal from screaming. They try to do that very, very quickly, and the reason for that is to stop it from giving alarm calls, because as soon as they start alarm calling, I've seen a hyena move through so quickly, really move through so quickly and try and steal the kill from the leopard. I've seen hyenas move in on lions when lions are potentially trying to pull down a buffalo. That distress call, all those distress calls alert other animals, and that means it's probably there's potential food around. But especially with leopard, even cheetah, those predators are easier to chase off kills. For hyenas, for example, if they're slightly outnumbered, even just one or two hyena will be able to chase off a cheetah and also a leopard. A leopard will try and avoid confrontation as much as possible. The reason for that is because they're solitary animals. If they happen to get injured while hunting or injured by another predator, they're unable to hunt for themselves again. So they've got to be so careful. And usually what happens is they'll give up a kill if they're outnumbered. But I have seen leopards stand their ground and growl and hiss and chase a hyena away. But there's potential food. We're going to continue our search for
My goodness, this is by far the most stressful morning I have ever had here at WildEarth with this debate about who the leopards are now. I'm going to put an end to all of this. I've done my own research in the last 10 minutes. I've been Googling away, looking for photos, comparing photos, and taking what the guides have said, trying to put it into my brain and look it out. Now, I read a very interesting article while I was gone. Apparently, this confusion between Nchila and the Ingrid female has now been going on for a few months, and a lot of people, unfortunately, have been posting photos of who they thought was Nchila, which was the leopard that we were looking at, but it is in fact the Ingrid female. Now I'm going to just very quickly stop so I can just show you for comparison. Now the Ingrid female leopard, which is the leopard we've just seen, and I do apologize for all the confusion, nobody seems to know what they're talking about at the moment, but we've come to it, and thank you so much for always double and triple checking. You'll all make very good investigators, and I really do appreciate your help. But I'm going to bring my camera up quickly. I just want to have a little look. I want to zoom into this photo. Is that all right over there for you? Okay, I'm going to go right in. Now, if you have a look at the spatten, that's I think Jamie's word. She talks about the leopard spattens, which is the spot pattern. Excuse my spoonerism. On the right hand side, so over here, of this leopardess's face, you can quite clearly see that there are 5 spots, and they're quite unique the way they've got 4 on the bottom and 1 on the top. And then if we go to the left hand side of her face, you can see that there are 3 spots. The one at the back is sort of joined, and oh, sorry, that was me. My camera just decided to switch itself off. Sorry about that. It's on battery saving mode. And then of course there's the 4th spot on top there. Now this is indeed the Ingrid female leopard. Now the Nchila female also has got 5 spots, except she has got 5 spots on the left hand side of her face and 4 spots on the right hand side. And her spot pattern, there's no spots above each other, they're in straight lines, so that makes it quite easy. So I've now read a lot of posts of quite a bit of confusion with these 2 leopards. So it obviously is in fact the Ingrid female that was seen fighting with Salahashi. I still have to do a little bit more investigation to actually find out who, unfortunately, the Ingrid female leopard had encountered, but I will do some of my own research and maybe perhaps phone a few people and get different opinions. It's very, very difficult out here, but I do have to say well done, Crystal, and thank you, Crystal, for your valuable help and input, because you did call it. You in fact said right at the beginning that this could perhaps be the Ingrid female leopard, and you were right. Now we need to try and find some more information about her, because apparently there isn't very much that's available. So perhaps we're going to have to get hold of Panthera and try and trace down her roots and see where she's come from exactly. But this is what it's all about, is that we make mistakes, but we try and correct them, we say sorry, and we move on. But like I said, I wouldn't have been able, sorry, the flies are getting me, I would not have been able to have done any of this without you. So thank you so much. It was a great learning process for me. I'd forgotten how difficult it was to try and ID leopards, when remembering that lots of different people post photos and unfortunately misidentify things. There we go, Aaron. I love your enthusiasm and your optimism too. Aaron says the only thing we were certain about that it was indeed a leopard. You are correct. At least I didn't call her a cheetah, hey? But isn't that funny? Right. Oh, lovely. I'm going to love you and leave you now just for a few moments, but let's go back to Byron, who's got a shongololo. But yeah, so that's why I was googling away and looking. But now what needs to happen is hello. Still chatting about the leopard and how we're going to try and get everybody else on one board, on the same board, and figure out how this leopard is, because we need to now let the other lodges know that there has indeed been an issue of misidentifying leopards. So perhaps we'll have to try and put a comparison picture, one of the real Tayla, which I saw that Brent has got a very nice photo of her, and then we'll have to get a picture maybe from one of the ones I've taken today of the Ingrid female, and maybe we'll do a couple of them, a little collage. I'm going to try and put this through and see if we can do something like that, because we need to try and make sure that we don't misidentify these very beautiful creatures. We give them names, we need to keep them to their own names. Now we've just arrived at Chelepan, and we're seeing there's no elephants like there have been for the last few days, which is unusual. I felt like this was my elephant go-to spot, or when it's been nice and hot. Right. Oh, I can see a monkey though. Let's see if the squeaky brakes haven't scared it away. Can you see that little monkey in the distance? Between the two trees? It's walking away. Where are you gone now? It's gone behind the trees. Go a little bit to the right. There it is. You can see that little monkey, a young vervet monkey, all on its own. Maybe we'll go around the corner and we'll see some more. Know where the rest of the family is. I'm sure they're doing what monkeys do, being mischievous. And I always think whenever I leave, it's one thing that I always forget to do is close my window, and I'm waiting for them to come through and steal all my goodies, which they are so good at doing. Oh, there's a couple more to the left. Below that fallen tree, you can see them moving in the distance. There's an entire family here. It's very difficult to see them, of course, now that I'm talking about them. They're hiding behind all the trees, but there is indeed a vervet monkey hiding behind that fallen tree. Let me go forward a little bit, see if we can get a better view. Monkeys, where are you? Come out. Well, they're doing very good at camouflaging themselves today. Just going to try and see if we can get a better picture. Nope. Hey, Darby, what's going on with the monkeys today? They don't want to be seen. That's okay. That's not a problem. I'm just having a little look to see if there are any more around here. They don't seem to want to hang around. Well, that's okay. We'll just have to carry on then as well. Now, I'm not sure what I'm looking for just yet, but I'm looking for really anything. And I was hoping that with that thunder and lightning, we were going to get a little bit of rain, because I'm dying to see some flowers. We've seen lots of morning glory flowers, but I've got one of my favorite flowers that I'm hoping is going to pop up in the next few weeks after our next downpour of rain, which is the lion's eye or roadside pimpernel, which is a beautiful flower. I don't think I have a photo of it with me, but I think it'll be better to wait and actually have a look at it. That'll be a nice flower to really look under the microscope with. You see that little dark cap bulbul in there? Let's see if this bulbul is going to hang around. Can you see it just in there? Yeah. No, where are you gone? Oh, he just flew away. That's why I think you saw him disappear the back of your screen. Let me get a photo of you. It's a bird that we actually overlook on a regular basis, and something that we don't always pay too much attention to. But They are lovely, very chatty birds, and they often become quite easily habituated, very much like the hornbills. I can always have stories of the hornbills coming through and stealing various goodies from the buffet table. They love to do that, particularly cheese. I don't know where they would have got their love of cheese from. Let's go bulbuls. We're going to go right to the front of the book. Bulbul. I'm going to need to get glasses. My eyes are not so good anymore. No, I'm just teasing. They're still alright. 312 or somewhere around there. And all my pages are all stuck together because I've had this book for ages. I'm going to show you what it looks like now. It's quite funny. Everybody laughs at me. You see how it's being held together by black tape? It has got no front cover on it anymore. It's just, no, it doesn't even have a back cover. There's some little bird counts. Can you see? I don't know which 21st of July that was, but there are 325 birds. Oh, there we go. From the 23rd of June 2015. Oh, I think I've definitely got a lot more. But let's have a little look at the dark-capped bulbul, which is this one on the bottom. Can you see it? Not a particularly exciting looking bird, but one thing I do love, and it's the easiest way to identify this bird, is the lovely yellow rump that you can see just sticking out over there. All the bulbuls have it. But a lovely bird, and nonetheless, not very big, and excuse me, they've got little tiny eggs too. They don't get very big, and they're normally blue in color. I've been fortunate enough to find one of their cup nests before, so they make a very little nest, sort of like that, which they'll make in the fork of a tree. It's quite a neat nest with grass and sticks and all sorts of nice things, and they have little eggs, normally not more than about 4 eggs. But let's carry on and see what else is happening down here. Ooh, lots of insects around. Now, James Richard would like to know, what is the smallest species of bird that is parasitized by the cuckoos? I do this every single year, where I remember and then I forget and I have to learn the various types, but I perhaps wonder if it's not one of the sunbirds that are indeed, or maybe even a firefinch. I think I'm going to go with a firefinch. I've said it 100 times now. James, I think it's that, but I'm not sure exactly who parasitizes the firefinch. Maybe it's a classes Deirdre's cuckoo, which we've been hearing a lot of. I'll have to do a bit of a check and remind myself exactly who parasitizes who. But isn't that an interesting question? It's something that I didn't notice. I must admit, when I first heard that question, I thought we were going to ask what is the smallest bird in southern Africa. That was the first thing that popped to my head. And that's something that birds that I haven't seen yet are the grey pendulum tits. So, but keep an eye out for those grey pendulum tits, which will be quite interesting to see. They actually make beautiful nests, and I was very fortunate to find a grey pendulum tit in the southern sands. It was quite beautiful. But I've got lots and lots of birds today. I've even seen some vultures, which are resting quite nicely up in this dead knobthorn tree, and they seem to be a little bit on the disappointed side that they haven't been able to start their morning just yet. You can see them sitting and grooming themselves, waiting for the clouds to lift, which they are indeed doing. It's turning out to be a beautiful day, cloudy but beautiful, in hope that some of those thermals will start to develop. It just looks like the white-backed vulture clan is here. Doesn't seem like anybody else is hanging around. Now, the vultures have definitely been well fed over the last few months with the Nkuhumas, always killing a buffalo every single day. And of course, they did also devour yesterday, it seems, that buffalo that died of natural causes, whether it was from the drought, perhaps it was sick. We are uncertain, but it is gone. So that makes me happy to know that the vultures and the hyenas and perhaps the jackals were all fed quite nicely. But let's continue and see what else is about. Look at all these beetles. Now, Calvin, you're wondering if there's perhaps... I'm going to jump out very quickly if you're wondering what all that clinging and clanging is. Sorry, it's like a bit of a workshop in here this morning. I've got all sorts of goodies. Calvin, you're wondering if there's perhaps a hyena around. You know, I'm convinced that there are only ghost hyenas that leave footprints, but we never actually see them. We see them at night at DRC when they try and come and steal anything that we've left behind, but other than that, I haven't really been seeing them. Now, there's a mysterious beetle that Steph has seen a few times, and I think I managed to find some for James. I'm going to pick one up very quickly, and I don't know what they are. They're obviously in the Coleoptera family. Oh, there's lots of them. There's different ones. I'm going to show you a few. Let's pick this one off this leaf. Sorry, I'm just trying to be gentle. I don't want to harm them. Come off. And then you, beetle, you can just go straight onto my hand. Come here. You are very shiny. Right, I'm going to come up close to you. Have a look at this one that's on my thumb. I'm very dirty. I was cleaning the tent. It was running away, as you can see. Look at that. Beautiful, lovely green coloring on its body. Now, we're only seeing them on, sorry, it's ticklish a little bit, on the spike thorns, which is quite interesting. I haven't seen these particular little beetles on anything else, and I've been trying for the last few weeks to try and identify it. I can't find it in the insect book that I have. Perhaps I need a more advanced one that is a bit more detailed, or I might have to even call on some help as to figure out who on earth this little beetle is and why. I'm going to go just put it down very quickly. You stay on my arm. Now we've got another one which is even smaller. Have a look at this bizarre looking thing. Can you see that? It almost looks like an alien. Can you see it, Darby? Okay. Oh, it's a funny looking thing. Can you see the little red spots on its back? Yeah. It's bizarre looking. Lovely. I just want to have a closer inspection myself. I think this is indeed a beetle larvae though, because at the moment it looks like something crossed between a beetle and a worm. The way that it moves, let's see if we can get it to move a little bit. It's quite strange. It's got little legs. It's not moving. It's alive, but it's camera shy. It doesn't want to move. So maybe it is a young one of these. I'm not sure. The mysteries that the bush has for us, and that's what it is, such an amazing learning environment, is that you just never know what you're going to see, when you're going to see a new insect that you're going to come across. It's so fascinating. But let me put them down, and you'll see me. I'm doing a little bit of a stomp because the flies are all over me today. Here we go, little beetle. Onto no, you have to leave now. Quickly try and do a catch and release here, but this beetle has decided that it wants to be my friend. You can go over there. You have to go back on the branch. Unfortunately, you can't come home with me. I don't want any beetles in my room. Let's jump back in very quickly. Whee! Feels like that step in gets higher and higher every time, but perhaps it's all the running and all the gymming. Oh, I feel terribly stiff this morning. I almost couldn't get in, and that would have been very embarrassing if I'd had to ask David to reach out and give me a hand to pull me inside the vehicle. Right, it's very quiet today. I can't believe, I thought after all the thunder and lightning everybody was going to come out from their hiding places, but perhaps it is a Sunday. They're allowed one day off a week, I suppose, but it better just be for the morning. It better not be quiet this afternoon, otherwise we're going to have some problems. Now, I'm going to go reverse again because I'm having a delayed reaction apparently with what's going on in my head. There's a plant I want to show you. Yesterday somebody was asking about medicinal uses and all sorts of things, and I think I'm going to jump out again very quickly. I'm going to go to this bush willow. Oh, that's not good. Bye. Vultures are flying away. They don't like me coming up. Now, it's a pod that we've spoken about a number of different times. Can you see? Oh. I dropped one. I'm going to break it off because I'm going to take it back with us. I'm going to bring it towards you. Now, this is from the russet bush willow, the Combretum family, which there are many of them. No, this is very old. Now, David, have you ever had the tea that is made from this tree?
I have not.
David has never drank the tea that you can brew from this beautiful pod, so perhaps I'll have to collect a few and take it back so we can make a pot of tea for everybody. Now, it's really, really good for you. It's almost very similar to the properties that Rooibos Red Bush tea has. So it's really good for colds and flus and things like that, just to help you sort of feel a little bit better. But this tree is also toxic. Can you believe it? You can boil it just like this, but you don't want to eat the seed that's inside here. Apparently that can kill you, and I suppose you only have one chance to test that out. I'm just going to take everybody's word this time. I'm not going to do the trial and error process. And something else that's really amazing, see if I can quickly crack it open. Now coming into these months, we're going to start to see lots and lots of birds, but I think I'm going to, do we need to go to Byron? Sorry, I'm just quickly confirming. I'm going to keep this and I'm going to tell you a little bit about this in a moment, but let's go back to Byron and see what he's got.
Apologize for that, but I should have a little.
Yeah.
Right, so,
3, 2.
no. But you missed me so much, you had to come racing back to me. So let's get back to what I was chatting about, these lovely pods. So firstly, I forgot to mention you what the tea actually tastes like. If I have to describe it, I don't know if you've ever had rooibos tea, the red bush tea that we grow here in South Africa. It tastes like a combination of that and pine needles, if you've ever made tea from pine needles. So tasty, but possibly you wouldn't want to have 10 cups of it a day, but it's all right. Now, there is a bird that uses this tree, and hopefully we're going to start seeing them dangling upside down in the next few weeks. And that bird is the southern black tit, which is a black bird with little white wing paneling on it. And what they're doing, I find this thoroughly amazing, is that they're able to tell just by tapping the seed if there is a larvae inside here. Now, I've forgotten which butterfly or moth uses the bush willow tree, and I think it's those little caterpillars that we've been seeing over the last few days with Steph as well as with James under the microscope, and they'll actually go inside the seed, a little tiny larvae, and they live around inside the seed. Now, this bird, the southern black tit, will come along and tap it, and we'll be able to tell if it's hollow or not. And obviously, if it isn't hollow, they're going to crack it open and take out that delicious treat. Now, if I were to do it, let's see what's inside. I'd probably have to crack away at about 100 before I'd find one larvae. I'm trying to do it gently because I don't want to break the whole thing. Oh, I just flattened it now. Okay, let's tear it open. This is nothing. Not very successful, but we will try one more. Let there be a worm, let there be a worm. Just crack it a little bit. Nothing. I'm not very good. I wouldn't make a very good southern black tit. I think I would go very hungry and I would probably starve and die. Well, let's keep me as a human then. So that's something I'm going to be definitely be looking out for the next few weeks. A southern black tit jumping around. We're going to stop and we're going to watch it and see if we can keep up with it in its daily routine, because that is something quite special. They become incredible acrobats when they're dangling from the top of that tree. Now, right, let's carry on. How much time? I really want to go to the magpie shrike nest. What do you think about that, Darby? But I think we've got to go the other way around though, because I'm not sure if Lex is out this morning. I think him and his guest could be sleeping in, so we don't want to disturb them. So let's quickly go back the way we came. It won't take us too long. It'll probably take us exactly 6 minutes. Hey, David? No, I'm just teasing. David the other day said that it was going to take us exactly 6 minutes to get to the beautiful cheetah sighting that we had a few afternoons ago, and I didn't time it. I wasn't sure if he was right, so I just thought I'd tease him. But we'll go around, and hopefully that'll be quite exciting to see. It's been now about a week since I last saw them, or maybe a few days ago I saw them. You lose track of time when you live and work out in the bush. Everything is just so spectacular that time really does fly by, and it's hard to keep tabs. But we're going to go there. Over this little bump we go. Right. I'm still looking out for more nests. We've also got, speaking of magpie shrikes, I've got a magpie shrike sitting on the top of that tree over there. You can see it. I don't think the ones that were sitting on the nest, unfortunately. I think we're a little bit too far away. But nonetheless, a little bit of a fright. This bird is chirping away, perhaps announcing his territory, maybe looking for a mate, maybe singing beautifully. But I'm honestly amazed how that bird is able to sit on that thorny branch. If I were to wrap my hand around that knob thorn, I'd end up with lots of little thorns and pricks, and would probably be bleeding quite a bit as well. Aren't they lovely birds though? Having a little sneak peek of them. Well, this must definitely be a sign that we need to go to that nest and have a look. And I think before we run out of time, let's continue making our way there so we can actually have a quick look. Now, it's chatting about birds and different birds that I'm excited to see and who's still coming to join us. I know that Aaron is wondering if we're going to be seeing any more storks and herons. Possibly we'll see some more storks. Maybe we'll get a couple of woolly neck storks coming through. Something I love and what I absolutely missed is the saddle-billed stork, which is a beautifully colorful bird. I will show you a picture once we stop there, once we have arrived at the magpie shrike nest. I don't want to waste too much time now. But they're probably one of my favorite storks. Who else? I don't think we see the Abdom stork here. I think that's further north. But we may see some woolly neck stork. I haven't actually seen too many herons. I've seen the odd grey heron. I haven't seen any black-headed herons. I'm not sure if they even occur this far north, but they're quite nice too, the black-headed herons, slightly smaller than the grey herons, and you normally don't see them or associate them with water. They actually prefer to be out in the grasslands where they catch snakes and rats and all sorts of goodies. So those are quite nice to see as well, but very similar looking to the grey herons. And something else that I saw flying over very early this morning, and I presume that they were heading towards the community lands where all the cattle are, were cattle egrets. I love the egrets, especially when I was in Zambia. They were probably my favorite birds. They were the most comical bird out there, the way that they used to sit on the backs of the elephants and ride on their backs as the elephants would wade through all the marshlands. That was quite funny to see, and it made for a great shot. And you could see that some elephants were particularly more favored than others, because you could see by the amount of bird feces that they had on their back as to who they preferred. But we've got the tallest African land mammal up in front again. We've gotten to the point where we see a giraffe almost every day. Now, I know this giraffe. We've seen this giraffe before a couple of times. Are you going to stand still for us, please? Hello, big man. This is one of the dominant breeding bulls that we have in the area, and the reason how I'm able to identify him is because of that patch of skin that's missing just on his neck. If you go a little bit further down, there we go, you can see that patch of skin there. Now that is very, very obvious identifying feature for this male. I think that perhaps he had a bit of an itch or something and has kept rubbing his neck on that spot, and he's lost all the hair there. And I love the look of you can see he's actually got a little bit going all over. Maybe it's even from fighting. You can see that he's quite scarred up on his legs. He's definitely faced off a few other males in his lifetime. I'm going to have to just move forward again, just because he's disappearing around the corner. We'll get another view of him. Now, let's have another look at this giraffe. Virginia, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, you're wondering if there's ever been any cases of a giraffe attacking people. Indeed, when I was down in the Eastern Cape, I think unfortunately somebody got killed by a giraffe, and this particular giraffe unfortunately had attacked a few people. And the problem there is because it was a hand-raised giraffe. It was hand-reared by humans. And you know, we want to try and interfere with everything, and sometimes it doesn't always go according to plan. Now, can you imagine bottle feeding a giraffe for the first year of its life? And even when it is born, it stands taller than the average male human at about 1.8 meters and almost weighs 100 kilograms. Even at that size, as wobbly as it would be, it can kick you, it can knock you over. Now imagine when a giraffe gets to 10 years old and has been spoiled by people, fed treats and bottles and all sorts of delicious things, and you decide to say no. That is when the problem comes in, because the animals are much bigger than you and they don't understand no. How can you give me something all the time and then not give it to me anymore? And that's, like I said, that's when the problem comes in. And I think it was just an unfortunate case of wrong place, wrong time, catching the giraffe on not a very good day. And this person, unfortunately, was killed by a giraffe. It's the same thing, like a giraffe could kill you, a lion could kill you, an elephant can kill you, and I can tell you right now, most certainly, an impala or a wildebeest could do a lot of damage. And that is why we have to respect nature and keep our distances. One of the most dangerous animals, though, I must say, and it's something that we're taught about when we learn to walk, when we do our trails qualification, is ostriches. Can you believe that? That an ostrich is an animal that we have to keep an eye out for, and we are honestly taught about amongst the hippo, the buffalo, and the rest of the big five. He's a lovely character, though. He's very much on the relaxed side, and he's an old boy. Where are you off to? Just carrying on with his day, gradually disappearing into the distance. Right, let's carry on though, let's keep moving. I want to get to that magpie shrike nest. I've been talking about it for the last few days now, and I have yet to take you there. I think today is a perfect opportunity to go around and have a quick little look and see how Mr. and Mrs. Magpie are doing. Let's go through here. But the bush is really just starting to come alive now. All the birds chattering away. Whee! Oops. Now we're not too far away. We're on Vulture's Nest at the moment, so we just need to get to Central, and then we will be right there when we get to Hyena Junction. That's where the nest is, in case you're wondering, and if perhaps any of the other presenters ask about where the magpie shrike nest is, you can tell them that it's just a little bit further north from the junction of Hyena Road and Central, and it's in a tambuti tree. But I do need to maybe try and leave a little bit of a bigger marker, because the marker that I've seemed to have left is the only one I seem to remember. Everyone else keeps driving past it. Just having a look as we go, always scanning. Oh, we've got some guinea fowl. We're having a really, really good birding morning today. Possibly not some birds that are new that could be added to your list, but it's still the same. Here we go, guineas. There they are. You can actually hear them in the distance. Aren't they funny looking animals? That blue on their heads is completely bizarre with that red helmet on top. Isn't that beautiful? Try and capture a screenshot of that when the guinea fowl puts its head up. That's really beautiful. I've always been desperate to try and get a photo, up-close photo of a guinea fowl, and I've never, ever been able to. Perhaps the opportunity is going to be today. I can only hope. But then they're coming right around us. Well, that's unusual. Now you can see how quickly they're moving in and out of frame all the time, and this is exactly why it's so difficult to try and capture a photo, is because every time you point a camera at them, well, it seems the one that takes stills, they race away from you. Look at that one having a little dig in some elephant dung. This is their favorite thing to do. You can see the one at the back digging open. It doesn't look particularly fresh elephant dung. It looked like it was quite hard and crusty on the outside, but you can see that as you head into the inside of that dung, it's moist. It's quite moist, so that tells me it's probably only a few days old. And the guinea fowl is looking for all sorts of things, any seeds, any little insects that are perhaps in there. And it's nice and humid, so I'd imagine that there are lots of insects around. Well, the flies are definitely around. They didn't take the morning off, which is unfortunate. It's funny how just the one guinea fowl is having a good dig and the other one is standing looking around. We're missing out on breakfast. I'd be in there if I was a guinea fowl, getting my feet dirty. I'd actually be fighting that guinea fowl off, trying to get the best spot. But there is, of course, no shortage of elephant dung around here, or any dung, in fact. Yeah, and off they go again. Can you hear them all shouting in the back? Listen to that. It's one of my favorite sounds. Not at 6 o'clock in the morning though, on your weekend off, then it's not my favorite sound, but otherwise it's quite a beautiful sound. Right. Now, we're going to carry on and head towards the magpie shrike nest. But I think let's go and see how Byron is doing fighting off those gremlins.
So it looks like Tayla's been finding all the interesting stuff for the last half an hour or so. We haven't had too much luck. We're driving around. We've seen the odd impala here and there, but not too much activity around. And that's the way it goes sometimes. I apologize again. We had some issues with our comms earlier, so we couldn't hear FC. We wanted to show you a little millipede, but we just couldn't copy anyone. So we've had some gremlins, but I think they're sorted out now. They've been chased away. VM has been doing some dancing at the back of the vehicle. I think he's managed to get rid of a few of them. Been looking for elephant. I really would love to see some elephant this morning, but no luck just yet. Another herd of impala off to the right. Oh, there's a little dacre this time. Oh dear, little dacre, did you see that? There it goes. Brakes of the vehicle, I think, just startled it a little bit. But it is still just hiding through the bushes at the back there. Lovely, a little glimpse of a dacre. So Peggy has asked us how many different species of impala. Now, Peggy, I think you possibly mean how many different species of antelope. So there are many different species of antelope, and the impala is one species of antelope. But in terms of the amount of different species of antelope, I'm trying to think. In this area, I think there's around 10 or 12 different antelope species that we get within this immediate area. And let me think if I can name all of them. So I'll start with the largest. So the kudu, the waterbuck, what else? The inyala, the bushbuck, impala. What else have we got? Then the duiker, the steenbok. What have I missed out? That's only 7. There are a few others though. In other parts of the Kruger, you might get eland, the largest antelope in Africa, and also we get wildebeest and sable, of course. Thanks, Viam. Do get wildebeest and that around, so that's another antelope. Sable in certain areas. I've seen reedbuck also in this area, just a little bit further south, but they are around. So quite a few different species of antelope. Driving towards a bit of a drainage line now. So Tammy would like to know, is there any chance that the impala associate, or some of the other antelope associate the vehicles, the safari vehicles, with predators? So Tammy, it's a difficult question. I think the animals themselves are a little bit nervous of the vehicle, definitely, and those antelope don't like the vehicles getting too close, but they don't alarm call or anything towards the vehicle, so they don't associate the vehicle with being a predator. Sorry, I just caught the smell of something now, and it actually smelled like leopard. Now, leopard has got, when a leopard scent marks, it sprays its urine on trees and branches, and often the scent that you can pick up it smells almost like popcorn, I'll be honest. And I caught a very strong whiff, a strong smell, and it smelled exactly like that. I'm just looking very carefully. Sometimes the scent can linger for quite some time, but it is a definite, and I've followed leopard enough to see and to smell when they do scent mark that very pungent, almost popcorn smell. I'm not going crazy, I promise you it does. And Tammy, getting back to your question, I think some animals, they may associate predators being around because the vehicles are often around predators. But it's actually very difficult to say, and I don't have an exact answer for you. I mean, I've seen hyena almost follow vehicles at times because they associate the vehicles with potential other predators or kills. Oh, there's another duiker. Hang on, let's see if we can get another glimpse. It just moved through back there. The little duiker are very, very shy, and they tend to move off very, very quick, very skittish little antelope. We're going to continue our search for elephant. I think Tayla's at that magpie shrike nest. Let's see what she's got.
Finally, after me talking about this nest for I don't know how long now. I've managed to make my way here, and of course you can see Mrs. Magpie Shrike is sitting on the nest. Now perhaps if you haven't been following the story of the Magpie Shrike nest, I shall start from the very beginning, where Mr. and Mrs. Magpie Shrike decided to start building a nest. Now it's not the tidiest of nests, very much not like the dark-capped bulbul's nest, which I was telling you about a little bit earlier. They use lots of sticks here rather than grass, and it's a very untidy cup nest. You can see all the little pokey bits poking around over there. Sometimes they will line the inside of their nest with feathers as well as some leaves to make it a little bit softer, and it can take them up to about 5 days or so to construct their nest, and I'm sure though they're constantly making little tweaks and changes to it. Now I'm unsure though, like some of the other birds, if they reuse these nests all the time or if they just make a new one every year, but it is only Mrs. Magpie Shrike that sits upon her clutch of eggs, and I don't know how many eggs are inside there. There could be 2, there could be 1, but typically there could be anywhere between 2 and 6 little yellowy speckled brown eggs inside that nest. And I can't imagine those eggs will be too big. They're not particularly large birds. Now you're probably wondering what on earth happened to Mr. Magpie Shrike if he helped build the nest and now he's gone. He's got a very specific role, and a very important role that is that he needs to come back and feed this female all the time. That's how she's getting her food intake, is that she doesn't leave the nest at all. Well, not very often. So maybe as we sit here, we'll see Mr. Magpie Shrike come back with a little gift, who I'm sure Mrs. Magpie Shrike will appreciate it quite a bit. Now, I'm trying to remember exactly when I found this nest. I think it was almost a week ago now. And the incubation process of these eggs is up to about 19 days. I think I've seen Mr. Magpie Shrike. Can you see him just behind? We'll see if we can get a glimpse on the tree behind Mrs. Magpie. I don't know if you can see her. He might come towards us. You can see him. He's just bouncing around on the other side. There we go. Go up a little bit further. There he is. You can see his tail straight in the middle of your screen. There his tail. So it doesn't look like he's got anything though in his mouth. Oh, does he? Does he have a little? He's got a little treat. Can you see that? He's got something in his mouth. Now don't be greedy. You can't eat that. You've got to give that to your lovely wife. They are monogamous. So let's see if he flies towards the nest and decides to feed her. That'll be very exciting. We should hear a lot of chitter and chatter when he does come down. I'm just going to sit very quietly. I don't want my voice to be disturbing them too much, and let's watch this little scene unfold. He's thinking about it. Me and my cat would like to know this morning if the magpie shrikes construct their nests from the beginning, and do other birds perhaps use them too? I'm sure somebody else would come through, maybe something like a dove would come through and try and utilize a nest that perhaps has already been constructed. It seems as though Mr. Magpie Shrike has moved away. Like I said, I'm a bit uncertain if they construct new nests every year or if they just use the same nests and rebuild them. I haven't really read anything about that. I'll have to get my very big book of bird goodies that will probably tell me a little bit more about that, but unfortunately I don't have that with me. Now, Mr. Magpie Shrike flew off, and I think he gutsed whatever little grasshopper or whatever insect he had. Maybe he's gone off to find a bigger gift for his lovely wife. Well, the reason why I was trying to figure out when on earth I first came here was because I'm trying to get an idea as to when we're going to see these chicks hatch. Now, the incubation period is anywhere between 16 and 19 days. Now, she's at least been here for a week. Like I said, we could have missed her a few days before. but amazing. But this is a story that we're going to keep following, and hopefully we'll be able to see these new chicks hatch and grow up and fledge. And I'll definitely be coming past every few days to come and have a visit. But let's leave this lovely lady to incubate her eggs, and let's go back across to Byron, who's got a stripy animal.
It's unfortunately the zebra has just moved off. There was a lovely zebra and it moved through the thicket, so it's just disappeared. First animal we've found in a while, and Tayla kept you away from me, so I'm actually quite hurt. Let's see if I can see it again. I think it's moved off. Yeah, it has moved off. But I heard something interesting coming up from ahead of us. Just switch off for a second and listen. It sounded like a scops owl. A tiny little owlet, about this big. Let's see if we can hear it. No, it seems to have gone quiet. They're very, very small and not easy to see. Bit of a bird party going on off to the left over here. Some fork-tailed drongos. There was an African hoopoe. That's the drongo. There it goes. It's interesting. You never know what little bird could pop up. There's the African hoopoe. Oh, that's a beautiful pose. Look at that. There's calling. There's a ooh, 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 ooh. That's my hoopoe impression. Not very good, I don't think. But that's lovely. I remember when I was younger, this used to be my favorite bird. We would sometimes see them in our garden in Johannesburg. And I used to love seeing these little birds. You see that beautiful crest, and every now and then they open that crest up. But now my favorite bird is the martial eagle. I love that bird. Beautiful, just a very, very large, powerful eagle. See all the little birds flying around. There was a little spider hunting wasp that just zoomed past us too. That's nice. That was a lovely shot of that African hoopoe. Beautiful bird. Let's see, I saw there's some oxpeckers up at the top here. Can you get them there, VM? So this is possibly a little bit lower down, I think. There they are, there we go. And they may be using this dead leadwood as a nest, or nesting site rather. Oh, look at that. That is beautiful. The red-billed oxpeckers. So usually you see them sitting on animals, picking off the ticks, jumping on the backs of the various antelope or buffalo. Giraffe, they love sitting on those animals, but I do think that they've used or decided to use this leadwood possibly as a nesting site. These leadwood trees are incredibly hardy, sturdy trees, so it provides homes for a lot of different animals. Squirrels love it too. I actually saw a squirrel run away as we pulled up to the side of the tree. Look at that. Just sitting there. Wonderful. Nice to see that. That's something different. They've just flown off now. So let's carry on and see what else we can find. We're doing well with our birds so far. An African hoopoe is still calling in the distance. It hasn't stopped. Can hear a lot of birds, but it's sometimes difficult to spot them unless they take off and fly. So while I continue my search for birds, Tayla's got herself a little dirty, it sounds like.
Oh, sorry, you've caught me as I was just trying to catch a little nap over here. I found myself this beautiful big mud wallow. This is not a dinosaur footprint, and I just wanted to come and have a quick little feel and see what it was actually like. Now, I don't think it's particularly comfortable, but the animals do, and I suppose when we get a little bit of rain, this will be quite a nice spot. A little bit squishy, nice, and lots of mud over here for the animals to keep nice and cool in. Now, I'm going to have to say goodbye to all of you today. Goodness, almost lost my footing. That would have been hysterical to see. Even I would have laughed at that. And thank you again for all your help with the leopard drama this morning. And thank you for being so patient. But we came to the end of it and we got a conclusion. So well done, everybody, for doing that. And I hope you had a good drive. So just from myself and David, it's been an absolute pleasure. And we look forward to this afternoon's sunset safari. But let's go back across to Byron, who I'm sure would also like to say goodbye.
And we found another beautiful bird. Look at this, a Wahlberg's eagle sitting right up above us in the tree. And this is fantastic. And this was well spotted by VM. And look at that. Beautiful, beautiful bird. And what a great morning. We've had a lot of activity. Predators, the lions and leopards. And loads of buffalo, but I've really enjoyed the birding towards the end here, and it's always nice to see these different bird species flying about, and really hope some of them are new for our viewers. Looking forward to this afternoon's drive again. Not sure what it holds. Let's see if we can find some more leopard. I need to find a leopard this afternoon. I think that would be great. And but yeah, this eagle is really just looks like it's quite well sheltered there at the moment. It's interesting, different species of eagles also prefer perching different heights of the trees. And Wahlberg's eagles, their nests are often right in the middle of the trees. And as you can see where this bird is perched at the moment, not necessarily right at the top, but just in the canopy of the tree. That was really, really wonderful. Lovely to see that bird up in the tree. And I'm hoping we get to see some more eagles at some point. And as I said, it's been a great morning. I really hope all of you have enjoyed it back home. Don't forget to join us again this afternoon for our sunset safari. Myself and Tayla will be out again looking for some wildlife. And we'll see what we can find. I'm looking for elephant and leopard this afternoon. I'll chat to Tayla and see what she's looking for. Thanks to VM on camera. VM, always a pleasure. And thank you to the ladies in the FC, Rebecca and Kirst. The voices in my head, as I like to call them, always talking to me. And thank you. Hope you've enjoyed it. And we will see you again later this afternoon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.